A salary is like a seed that you sow for future returns. So you should take your salary and buy income generating assets that will maintain or sustain your lifestyle. Rather than you take your salary, you go to the bank, you get that loan, and then you create debt that's going to demand out of the very same salary. And it's actually going to deplete it. Banks generally favor pay slips over annual financial statements, and that's what I've said on the day. Doesn't matter how big your figures are. For sure, scaling is going to be different, but banks still favor your pay slips. Pay slips are futuristic because they look to retirement or to pension, whilst
welcome to another edition of Mindset Profits. I think and I hope you are appreciating the new format and the changes. We got sponsors, so we're making a couple of changes here and there. What I want to talk about today is how you can make your salary work harder for you, the power of your salary. And when you're talking about important topics like this, as we do, I call a guy. I call a guy.
I like that one. Call a guy, yeah.
Yeah, man, that's why you keep coming back, because I don't want to scratch my head looking for good people to handle certain tough topics. You know, many people live their lives, their entire lives, working for a salary. Sure. But they get to the later stage of their life and realize it didn't really work for them. They didn't optimize. It didn't go as far as could have. There's a lot of missed opportunity that they start to see when they reflect back. I think when you're in the moment, you don't think and see things that way.
Correct.
But it's only when you look and you hit 40, you hit 50, you hit 60 that you realize, this didn't really work. But I think what hurts more is when you look next door and see, it really worked for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, man, I want to talk to, I think we'll split it into two.
Okay.
With the first part, which is going to be in this video, we're going to talk about a lot of the benefits and the power that you have when you are a salary earner, like what a salary can do for you. And then in the next video, we're going to talk about the practical changes that you should start making right now, that you could start making right now, so you make your salary stretch. So look out for that one, and do not forget, hit that subscribe thing and do the YouTube thing.
Yeah.
Mandilake, welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
It's good to have you, my man.
No, good to be here.
After event, you've been, I think since people saw you online, you've been a man on demand.
Yeah, it's been busy, I must say.
What's up? Is it not a harder shift for you?
Not really. I think live events actually have a different feel from your online. Your online is great because you can control everything. It's just that you can shut it up as soon as you're done, because of once you like stop and then you're like, okay, I'm done. But then in a live session, you also can read the audience. You know, you can speak to people's specific issues.
Yeah, I do that all the time. So you can feel when you're losing them.
Yeah.
And you know, I need to shift, or I need to move from this slide. I think this one is, you know, when you're preparing for a presentation, sometimes some slides are so exciting to you.
Yeah.
But when you're in the room, you feel it. Hey, they're not feeling this one. And you can quickly move on.
And you might be excited by the technicality.
Yeah.
And people are like, we whatever, that's for you. Yeah.
That's your thing.
Exactly.
What do I need to do? What do I need to learn right now for me?
Correct.
But this technical stuff is yours. Man, the power of a salary. I picked this up from one of your talks. You invited me to a very well organized, well set up event, and
thank you.
Part of what you said was in one of your slides, the power of a salary.
Yeah.
I was listening and thinking, podcast.
Nice one.
Podcast. I don't even have to look for a topic. All right. So I think let's get into it. Why that topic in your slide? For you, what's the significance?
So the significance is a lot of people that are employed, I think it's mostly when it came to the generation of tendering systems and, you know, people running their own businesses, there was this excitement about doing your own thing. And people who were employed kind of felt some kind of way about their employment.
Like you're being left behind.
Yes, and it felt like you're not making enough if you are employed. Because tender people get a tender with the total figure there, with the value for the tender, and it gets exciting. But nobody gets to look at the nitty-gritty of that tender value is not for that person to go and use. Yes, that's not the profit, or it's not even the salary that this person should be paying themselves. This is actually money to run the operations in order for them to get that tender fulfilled. If ever they're going to build a road, they're going to have to get employees that are qualified to do the job. They're going to have to do plans. They're going to have to pay themselves a salary. They're going to have to pay taxes on that. So by the end of the day, when you look at what is residue, really, it's not that much. Whilst then the salary earners actually forget to look at what is it that they have, because of you could actually be making more money than the guy who's actually getting a tender, because of, firstly, you have your future almost protected because there's pension provident, there's retirement annuity that is being paid from your salary, which takes care of the future to a certain extent. Number two, what you are actually getting in terms of a pay slip, you can go to the bank and actually access the bank's money with more security than the guy who's a tenderpreneur.
That's the first time that I wanted to talk to. I think a salary earner has access to credit.
Yeah.
Because the cash flow coming through in their bank account is predictable and it's stable.
Correct.
And an entrepreneur said it nicely. He says, my employees get bigger loans than me and I pay them.
Yeah. And that's the system. Yeah. If you remember, I actually spoke about the importance of understanding how the system works and make the system work for you, because of we've all been complaining that the system is not fair or whatever. It's not about the system being fair. The system is standard. It's static, for that matter. You need to understand and know how to make it work. For example, that employer or that business person needs to fall in the line, because of things are not going to change because of he's the owner of the business. He actually needs to understand that banks generally favor pay slips over annual financial statements, and that's what I've said on the day. Doesn't matter how big your figures are. For sure, scaling is going to be different, but banks still favor your pay slips. And one of the discussions that took place in our event was the fact that pay slips are futuristic because they look to retirement or to pension, whilst annual financial statements look historic data. So that means we might know how you've performed, but we can't predict the future based on your annual financial statement, because the next year you could fall. And look at COVID. Nobody could have predicted that.
All right, so let's look at, if you're talking about access to credit, I see two scenarios. Someone who has the payslip and accesses the credit, but again damages their lives because of it, because they're not using that access the right way. So I want to talk to using the access to credit the right way, because that's when it makes a difference.
That is very critical, because we then don't just address money there only. We address lifestyle, because of one of the biggest things that affect our financial affairs as employees is lifestyle. So when we then tell people about this access to credit, we have to break it down further, because we from different backgrounds. You say one thing and I'm excited because with this credit I can go and buy the car of my dreams, and find out that I don't afford. Or I could actually be a wise person who says, actually, because I needed a certain amount of money in order for me to get that project off the ground. Therefore, that means I can go to the bank and get access to the credit so that I can get that project off the ground, which is going to have returns. For me, a salary, again, I've made a video on this. A salary is like a seed that you sow for future returns. So you should take your salary and buy income generating assets that will maintain or sustain your lifestyle. Rather than you take your salary, you go to the bank, you get that loan, and then you create debt that's going to demand out of the very same salary. And it's actually going to deplete it. And yeah,
that's a cool one. No, I'm listening and thinking, actually, if you step it up to once someone knows that the access to credit is good because you have a salary and you can get that access, you need to learn to invest so that you are building a portfolio, or you are spending that credit to get assets.
Yeah.
I think if you are taking it in that direction, then it's beneficial. But for some people, they don't. They get the salary and they don't buy the assets and they don't do the investing. And that access is then detrimental because investment was not part of the equation. Then that's the main point you're driving, that when you have a salary, you've got access to the credit.
Yeah.
But that comes and becomes beneficial if you're investing.
That's correct.
And I think the foundation of it as well is you need to manage that access really well.
Yeah.
Because you might ruin your credit score along the way, and then you will have the pay slip 10 years later and not access the credit because you didn't do the right thing.
Correct. And that credit score topic is very critical because, again, as annual financial statements are not as important as your pay slip. Also, if your pay slip is great, because you've got people that are earning a lot of money, but their credit score is bad because they started with a bad credit. They committed themselves in high maintenance vehicles because, again, it goes back to this thing I'm saying of lifestyle. Because we need to watch, again, when we are watching our financial affairs, it has a direct impact on our lifestyle. So we have to address the fact that you can't have expectations of great returns when you have a careless way of living. Or you haven't actually taken control of your inner issues. Because of some of us are trying to cover our traumas and our inner issues by putting on stuff that will make other people, when they look at us, to think a particular way about us. So if we've got traumas that we need to deal with, go to the therapist. To the therapist and deal with that. Do you get my point? So that you don't get to now affect your financial well-being because of some inner turmoil.
You're making me think of, there's a video I saw of what's happening in Japan, and the video was calling it a low desire society, where because people were ambitious before, after the nuclear bomb and everything that happened there, the whole country was in ruins. But the ambition and the drive of the people of that time created this economy where everything was fast moving, everything was growing, everything was high flying, investing, all the stuff we're talking about now.
Yeah.
But it all came to a crash. There's the global credit crunch and all of that. It came to such a bad crash that a lot of people were depressed because they saw all their life's work and investments lost in the markets because the markets crashed.
Yeah.
And that created that whole low desire where you don't want a lot of things. And the challenge for them now is the other end. It's now bad for business and the government is concerned because they're saying people don't buy stuff. you make a lot of things. And their trauma was reversed. The trauma is at a level where many people just don't want to buy stuff.
Makes
just
sense.
Comfortable with the status quo. You just take it a day as it comes. I think, Tina, on the other hand, we are on the other extreme. We just want to buy. We are a high buying society.
So what you are speaking to is crucial because it speaks to people having suffered loss, which influences their disposition. Firstly, is it normal? We can't say because of it's as a result of a negative experience, right? That means we need to deal with that because at the end of the day, life must go on. It might not be as great as it was, or it might be even greater because I mean, when you read some of the old books like your Napoleon Hill's writings, people who have seen how World War I and II affected even America. Because you would actually find that there are some people who were affected by World War I and World War II, and they lost everything. But they had this inner belief that what they were doing prior will be even greater after. They actually, some lost their shops. I remember there's a story he tells in one of his books, Think and Grow Rich, of these business people that had lost their, it's more like a center of shops that they had. The others were like, they're giving up and they're going somewhere else. And there was one gentleman who had this thing. He said, I will, in that very same place where I had my shop, I will build 10 times bigger. And he succeeded. So again, that speaks to, it could be resilience. It could be the ability to take a knock and get over. But again, it's not all of us.
Yeah, I think I'm going to talk about it. I think there's someone who's coming to talk about that resilience.
Okay.
Just recovering from financial loss. And I think it's important that we raised it now as an appetizer to say there might be people who, due to loss, financial loss, or they've seen financial loss and calamity, my parents, right? Parents going through it, it took the ambition out of them. So even when you have a salary, once the ambition is sucked out of you, you're just saying, oh, it doesn't matter. Why try harder? Why look to get a better salary? Why look to get a better job? And you just stay where you are. You take life as whatever it is that it throws at you.
But you're mentioning something important there, because, and I like how you're phrasing it, because some experience the same thing again.
Yeah.
They could experience a job loss and they could crumble. Somebody else experiences the same thing and they pivot.
Yeah.
So, because I believe in every loss, there's a lesson learned. And the best way to put that lesson to use is to actually come out on the other side better. Because everyone, I mean, I've lost money in trying. I promise you, I've lost. So to the point where loss of money is an indication that I've made progress at times. Because of you've paid your school fees. Do you get my point? And I know now that I can never lose money in the same way again. Do you get my point? And that's progress.
Yeah.
And we have to, with all these principles that we're giving people, we have to give people something to work with in terms of me now, my makeup. I've got to be able to understand how things work. If ever I make a loss, it doesn't mean this was bad. It just means I didn't know something, and that's the reason why I actually had a negative encounter. But I can then use that as manure, to plant in the very same place and get good returns.
All right, so let's get to another benefit of a salary. Retirement contributions that are compounding in their nature, which means by the time you are retiring, you are safe. You've got something. Right? And for many people, it's something that you can live off of. Entrepreneurs, on the other end, I always warn entrepreneurs when I get into rooms, which is a lot of times, that entrepreneurs ignore this part of life. They get so caught up on the hustle and bustle of things and forget about retirement. If I talk to entrepreneurs in their 50s and their 60s, many of them never set this up, and it becomes something where they're now looking at the business's performance and thinking, ooh, how long will it take to save and invest enough for me to not worry about retirement? It's not an easy conversation from there. But when you have a salary, it's powerful because by force, and they deduct stuff and they put it in facilities that compound.
You're right.
And protect you. Or if you don't two-pot and take some of it out. But
don't start with that two-pot thing. No, the issue of pension is key. It's about time more than effort. And the earlier you start on that path, the better your prospects for being able to maintain your lifestyle. Because remember, the idea around pension is for you to not depend on the government when you stop working. So right now, the benefit is that you get a tax deduction for that pension, right? That's the first thing. Then after that, when you get to 60, 65, whenever you decide to retire,
when
you get to 60, 65, The idea is that you can maintain the lifestyle that you had whilst you were working. But one of the things I've recently been saying about retirement, people must take into account the fact that these finance houses predict that when you retire, you won't be paying your bond, you won't be paying your car, you won't be paying school fees. You know, these
Don't have children.
you don't have children who are dependent on you at
Yeah.
that time. Even your groceries are not.
Oh, so the math is calculated with that foundation.
That's the
So
case.
don't
That's the
create
fact.
the debt. Get a new house in your 60s and stuff because it messes up the numbers.
That's exactly what they say. So one then must understand that whatever the numbers are when you are contributing, they are taking into account that at that time you won't be having the things you have now. And that money will be to sustain the lifestyle that you're living now without your expenses. That is for the employee. So you need then to ask yourself, is what I'm seeing going to be good for me to keep that lifestyle when I get to 65? And I know most of us are dreaming that I'm going to be driving a Lamborghini. And based on the time value of money, a Lamborghini probably will be 3 times whatever you'll be getting out at that point. So those dreams might not be fulfilled.
All right, talk to me about your favorite topics. When you have a salary, you have access to tax deductions.
Yeah. No, when you have a salary, you do have access to tax deductions. We must first address this. When you have a salary, you are highly taxed first. So it's imperative then that you understand how to use it so that you don't lose most of it to taxes. So
Yeah.
most of the wealthy would tell you that being an employee exposes you to a lot of tax. And we understand, I mean, we've done these stats
Yeah.
a number of times before. The highest tax contributors in South Africa are your employees because they contribute up to 45% when it comes to over and above the 644,000 rands that you actually get to pay standard if you are earning over 1.8 million. So in that last bracket, you actually can get to pay up to 45% on the addition of whatever is over that 1,800,000 and something. So you have that. That's why then when you take that money and you use it to buy assets to run an operation, then you are opening up your tax deductions access. Because, for example, because most people will be like, okay, we don't all want to do property. Fine, don't do property. Go and buy a truck. Go and buy a truck and hire it out. You're generating income there. The depreciation of
So
that
you
truck.
then declare the income
Yes.
of the truck
Yes.
adds to your salary.
Yes.
But also the expenses,
The
of the
expenses.
trucks get
You-
deducted and the depreciation of
Depreciation, maintenance costs, your fuel, all of that
the truck gets written off.
against your
taxes.
Your taxes, yeah.
That is powerful. So there are tax benefits, but only if you are using the salary to invest in an asset that generates income.
That's correct.
And then depreciation and expenses of that, be it property or a truck, then that's where you access the benefits.
So
but
you-
otherwise, if you're earning a salary and it's a hand-to-mouth thing, zero tax benefit there, they're hitting you 100%.
You actually have limited deductions. It's your retirement, it's your medical. So there are certain deductions that are allowable for employees, but they're not as many as if you are running a business operation.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
Let's go to another one. A salary, because I think you mentioned it. You said if you're earning profits and you're in a business,
Yeah.
the financial statements that you submit are historical.
Yeah.
And the salary is more futuristic.
Yeah.
One benefit that I've seen with people who move from one job to another is because that salary is also futuristic, but you can use the salary of the last job to negotiate for a higher salary in the next job.
Correct.
And even if you're in the same, you're moving up the ladder, you can use your salary to say, I want 10, 20% increase. But now there's a baseline.
Yeah.
So your revenue, your income increases on a step, like it's going up and up as you move careers and you move jobs.
Yeah.
Because they keep using the baseline of the salary.
Correct.
It's unlike a business where you can't really use the baseline of your last income because now you have to prove that you'll make it again next year.
Yes, and that's for business, right?
Yeah.
That you actually have to prove. But then for your salary, you are right that sorry, yeah,
this is
you
what
know
I'm
what
aiming.
exactly. So yes, because of your salary actually uses exactly that, and one of the things I normally have or say to my colleagues, because of they've also been engaging on this thing of, this whole salary story, because of the increment sometimes is not as great as maybe you want to make adjustments. And I'm saying, your gross, which is not what you get, because your gross income right now is nobody way lesser than what you get at the end of the day. And it's mostly, there's a number of things. I mean, you have inflation, you have your tax bracket creep now, which actually affects that as well. You end up sometimes getting to pay more taxes and less, and go and take home less. If ever we look at what's happening now, it's all government related issues. But what I'm saying is that gross income increase gives you more access to more debt. So your debt access now is based on the growth of your gross income rather than on your take home. So that's why then also this benefits, because of you can try and curb that feeling of, I actually got less income with this increase, because of you've gone to actually access debt and you're using it right.
Yeah, and if debt is kept on your gross, again, these increases, they power up the benefit again. But I also like the fact that if I can access debt, the debt is not taxed.
Yeah. That is not taxed. That's correct. So your gross income definition on your income taxes is actually, it's income that you've received. It's actually accrued to you for because of due to the operations that you're carrying out. That actually, then also the deductions that you get, which is your Section 11A general deduction, is about the expenses that you are incurring so as to generate the income. Because
including paying back the money of the debt.
Exactly, because the interest expense is actually, it's the expense that you incur because you want to actually to generate that income.
All right, I'm thinking of another one where, because you've got stable income, you are then able to invest in things like in the stock market, or invest in any way, buy bonds or whatever, because a lot of people struggle to invest because of just the unpredictability of the cash flows.
Correct.
If you're an entrepreneur, this month you're earning 10,000, next month it's 30, the other month it's 0, and you actually have to pay others and not pay yourself. That makes the whole investment equation very difficult to think about.
Yeah, you're right, and it trumps the idea of which I was talking about with regards to time over effort. Because when you have fluctuating income, you become concerned with your ability to sustain that commitment to continuously and consistently invest. So you tend to put more effort than make use of time. Sorry, and I'm not sure if I touched on this well when we were talking about the whole retirement thing. Because if you started when you were 21 contributing towards your retirement, even if you were putting 1,000 away, the power of compounding interest is powerful. Because if you do that for like 20 years, it's interest upon interest. Every time your money earns interest, it actually attracts more interest on that interest. You can get to 1 million. Once you get to 1 million, once you get to the first million, that compounding interest, exactly. The second one becomes easier. So then on what you're saying then, on the aspect of consistency that comes with salary, yes, it enables you, when you decided to invest, it enables you then to make use of that time issue or time effect over effort. But when you have this sporadic increase and decrease as a business person, you then get to put big monies at odd times, and one crash,
you go back for
discourages you. You get my point? Because you don't even have the time to appreciate market correction, because they say markets self-correct over time. So that whole thing, for example, S&P 500 has performed great over time. But there were times where it actually was going down. But if you were consistent, you wouldn't feel that, because of it recovers at some point and even actually outperforms any dips that it actually had.
I like that. And I think the power here is, and for anyone who's a salary earner, the power is you are able to invest because you know what's coming,
Yeah.
and you can understand, looking at your numbers, how far you can commit. I can commit 1,000 per month. I can commit 500 per month.
Yeah.
You can tell and predict how much you are able to commit. And there are investment apps out there, Easy Equities, Frank. Some I've covered Frank here.
Okay.
You could even commit 100 rands a month.
Yeah.
So there is no excuse for like how low you have to start. You just get started and you can invest. So if you have a salary, you can invest because you can predict what's coming and you can plan. I think that's the last point I want us to look at. That because the cash flow is predictable,
Yeah.
it's easy to plan
Yeah.
your life.
Yeah.
It's easy to know how much you can commit to school fees,
Correct.
to holidays, even though others ignore it. When it comes to holidays, they got look at debt to finance that. But you can plan things around and know that this is the lifestyle that I can set my life at.
And that speaks to budgeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because what you're talking to now is budgeting, which is definitely a powerful tool.
Yeah.
One of the things that another researcher did on a number of billionaires, I don't know what the time frame was the fact that all of them, they had a budget. So employees could also grow their wealth by starting with a budget, because that helps you first to get a true reflection of your financial affairs. What a budget does, that's what it does, more like looking at yourself in the mirror. You can see where things are not going well. Then you know how to adjust them. And I always say it's finding yourself in the map. When you're going anywhere, what we used to do back in the day, this reveals my age, when we didn't have navigation, these nice gadgets, you had a physical map, right?
Yeah.
You could see yourself, you could see where you're going on the map. The main important thing was first finding yourself on the map where you are now.
Where am I
yes,
right now?
before you can want to go wherever you want to go. So it's very imperative then for you to prepare your budget so as to establish where are you financially. What are the things you are doing well in, and what are the things you're not doing well in. You address the things that you're not doing well in.
You know, there are people over 40 that have never done a budget.
Yeah. Yes. I hope those people are single.
Why though?
So that they don't trouble somebody else. I mean, listen, if ever your financial affairs are not, that at least is something you have control over.
Yeah.
Rather than something you have no control over. You don't have control over probably getting an ad hoc increase in your salary, but you can actually at least budget.
I like that. But I think one of my favorite terms in workshops is to talk about uncommitted funds. When I'm making budgeting make sense.
Yeah.
What I know is if I put $1,000 in your pocket and you walk through a mall, chances are by the time the day ends, it's not there. And the reason is it was uncommitted.
Yeah.
So uncommitted funds just find a way to slip out of your pocket, right? But if I do the same thing, I give you the $1,000 and your child calls and says they're kicking me out of school, you didn't pay fees, and you say, no, I'm going to pay tomorrow. Now you've committed that $1,000, right? And you can walk through a mall and be as hungry as ever, but that money is not going anywhere because now it's committed.
Yeah.
And the same psychology applies to people, and it's available to people with budgeting, because budgeting, it's you committing your money to a specific purpose.
Yeah.
And if you're doing it right, you're committing it to things that will make you progress, move you closer to your goals. And you can get good at it. There are many that get so good at it, they don't need to do it technically. It just runs on autopilot now. You can allocate and commit your money on autopilot. And I think that's where you want everyone to be, right?
And I was going to say, in what you're saying about uncommitted money, you have to have these set values. You know, you must have a predetermined disposition concerning your money discipline.
Yeah.
For example, let's make an example.
Yeah.
When I get money, I know that there are things that run through my mind. Doesn't matter, it could be 100, 1,000, a million. There are things that run through my mind that are triggered by money coming in, expected or unexpected. First things first, we tithe, we invest, we then we take your family and then we can look at what other things are there. So it's key for you to have those things so that even if you get 1,000 rands in the mall, those things govern your thinking.
Can I afford? Can I not?
I'm not going to spend this 1,000 rands in this mall. I have to make sure that $100 goes where it's supposed to go. The other $100 goes where it's supposed to go. And yeah, we can touch on that. I know that. And these things are key because of, again, sometimes we have this imbalanced life where we give a whole lot to church, and sometimes we don't actually we don't save for our own selves. So it's very key for us to address those things as well. You can actually put 10% away for you as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was talking at a church. I was talking about that one of the saddest things that I've lived long enough to see is someone gives a lot at church, gives nothing to the parents at home.
Oh.
Topic for another
I'm
day.
telling you, because I'm going to talk about Paul right there. Yeah.
I think we can close this one off. What we're going to do in the next episode, which is going to be next week, so you might want to stick around, is move on. If the salary is powerful enough to give you access to these things, to allow you to do all of this, what can you start doing now to make sure your salary works harder, it stretches? And I hope what we've done in this episode is just make you see that the salary is not a prison. It's not they call it the thing that they give you to forget your dreams.
Yeah, it's an opium in a way or a drug.
It's not a drug for you to forget your dreams, but it can be a seed. It can be a tool that you can use. There are many people that are doing really, really well that have never been in entrepreneurship, that will never be in entrepreneurship, that people in entrepreneurship aspire to be where they are.
Correct.
All they did was get a salary, do the right things with it. And do you want to close it off?
Yeah, no, I think you've said it well. I think it's time we encourage our people to look at salaries for what they can do and not despise them, because they have so much power to generate wealth that can last for generations.
Thank you. See you in the next episode.